So while Brock's doing this, he's gambling that he's going to get what he wants, but
Brock kind of like as my final boss. Like I always get portrayed.
Brock Lesnar knew Gunther was a dangerous career killer. That's why he stayed away and used fake retirement as an excuse, because he didn't want his career to end at the hands of Gunther. But now Brock Lesnar is back, and Gunther couldn't be happier because he finally gets the fight he's been waiting for.
Ideally.
But it's definitely something I want to do. I kind of like labeled him as my personal little end boss. I try to be that for most of the other people, the end boss they have to conquer, but he's someone that I always looked up to and really enjoyed watching, and I think how he carries himself and handles business and stuff I like that. So if that match ever goes down, hopefully in Europe in a stadium, yeah.
So Brock did what Brock always does. He played the game better than everyone else. But now, Brock Lesnar is back. And Gunther couldn't be happier, because he finally gets the fight he's been waiting for. This is the story of the greatest negotiating move in wrestling history, a calculated retirement, and a collision course that was always going to happen. Let's get into it. When Brock Lesnar left WrestleMania with tears in his eyes, a lot of people didn't know what to think. Was it real? Did it work? WWE immediately tried to sell it as part of the show, and that was their first mistake. Because if that emotional goodbye was scripted, if that was planned creative, then the writing team should be embarrassed. It made zero sense as a storyline. There was no build, there was no payoff waiting on the other side. Here's what actually happened. Brock had been reading the reports. The plan floating around was clear. His career was going to end in Minneapolis at the hands of Gunther, the ring general, the career killer, and Brock Lesnar looked at what Gunther had been doing, looked at what WWE had not been doing with Gunther to build him properly, and made a decision. I'm not letting my legacy end like this. So instead of waiting for them to book him into a corner, Brock flipped the entire table. He announced his retirement on his own terms. And here's the genius of it. You cannot fight a man who is retiring. You can't negotiate against someone who just walked away. WWE, TKO, Nick Khan, all of them were suddenly powerless. What do you do when your biggest attraction just says he's done? You panic, and then you call him. Let's talk about what makes Brock Lesnar different from every other talent on that roster. For years, Brock had one thing nobody else had, a direct line to Vince McMahon. He could walk into that office, sit across the table, and negotiate face-to-face with the most powerful man in wrestling. That's how Brock always won. Every single time his deal came up, he would eventually walk out with exactly what he wanted. $4 million for 15 appearances. Vince would shake his head and sign anyway because Brock was worth it. But that world doesn't exist anymore. Today, talent isn't talking to Triple H about money. Talent is talking to TKO. Zelina Vega said it herself. She didn't get a call from Triple H. She got a call from TKO. It's the same company, but the human connection is completely gone. The people controlling the money are not the people dealing with talent face to face. Brock understood this. He knew he couldn't walk into a room and stare down Ari Emanuel the same way he stared down Vince McMahon, so he found another way to negotiate. He retired, and when those tears hit on the WrestleMania stage, those were real. Because Brock knew he was rolling the dice. He was gambling that they would blink first. If they called his bluff and let him walk, that was it. Career over. No big farewell tour. No final moment on his own terms. Just gone. That emotion came from a man who knew this could actually be the end. They blinked. They called. And Brock Lesnar, the greatest negotiator in this business, better than Nick Khan, better than anyone in that boardroom, came back on his terms, for his money, for his match. The number? Probably not the $2.5 million some people are guessing. Try closer to $10 million for 2 months of work. Because when you have something they absolutely need, you don't negotiate from weakness, you name your price. Now let's talk about the man on the other side of this. Gunther has been quietly building one of the most dominant runs in WWE history. The ring general doesn't waste words. He doesn't need a flashy entrance or a celebrity co-sign. He just goes out there and makes people look like they never belonged in the same ring. And that's exactly why Brock wanted nothing to do with him. Think about what it would mean for Brock's legacy to lose, and lose convincingly, to Gunther in front of a hometown crowd in Minneapolis. No dramatic comeback, no triumphant final chapter. Just Brock Lesnar getting dismantled by a guy the company hadn't even fully committed to building properly. Brock saw that coming from miles away. But here's where it gets interesting. Gunther wanted this fight. He's been waiting for it. A win over Brock Lesnar isn't just a big match for Gunther, it's a coronation. It's the moment that takes him from dominant champion to all-time great. You don't get to that level without beating the biggest names, and they don't get much bigger than Brock. So now both men want this. For completely different reasons. Brock wants to control how the story ends. Gunther wants to prove he's the measuring stick for this generation. That's a collision course. And it was always going to happen. Step back from the match for a second and look at the bigger picture here. Brock Lesnar just exposed every single problem with how TKO runs this company. Talent has no voice. They can't walk into an office and have a real conversation with someone who has the power to actually change things. Triple H is the guy they can talk to, but Triple H is not the boss. And when talent sees Triple H taking losses from TKO on decisions, what hope do they have? The result is a locker room full of people who are scared. Scared to speak up, scared to push back on creativity. Scared to refuse a pay cut because they remember what it felt like to make $200 a night on the independents, and they will do anything to protect that salary. Brock Lesnar was the only guy who could flip that script. Because Brock doesn't need WWE, he never did. He walked away to the NFL, he walked away to MEMA and became UFC heavyweight champion. He's the one talent in history who always had an exit and was willing to use it. That's power, and TKO just got reminded of it in the most expensive way possible. Meanwhile, the rest of the roster watches what Brock pulled off and knows they could never do that. Not without risking everything. That's the uncomfortable truth sitting underneath all of this. So where does it go from here? The match happens. Most likely SummerSlam in Minneapolis, Brock's backyard, his hometown crowd, his farewell on his own terms. If Brock wins, he rides off into the sunset as the guy who outsmarted an entire corporation, got paid a fortune and left on top. The perfect ending for the most unpredictable career in wrestling history. If Gunther wins, and done right, this could be the moment that makes Gunther a genuine all-time figure. Then Brock still controls the narrative because he chose this opponent, chose this moment and chose to show up at all. Either way, Brock Lesnar wins. That's what makes him different from everyone else on that roster. He doesn't just win matches, he wins the entire situation before the bell even rings. So let's bring it back to where we started. Brock Lesnar knew Gunther was dangerous. He knew what the plan was. And instead of walking into a trap, he pulled off the most calculated move in modern wrestling history, a fake retirement that got him a massive payday, a match on his terms and complete control of his own legacy. Gunther finally gets his fight, and the whole world gets to watch two immovable forces collide in what could be one of the most important matches of this era. The only question left is, did Brock Lesnar just delay the inevitable, or did he set up the perfect ending to the greatest career this business has ever seen? In his silence about the future of Brock Lesnar, and his message has instantly set the WWE universe on fire. The Beast is back. Those few words alone are enough to shake the entire wrestling world, as speculation grows that Lesnar is preparing for a dominant return on the grand stage once again. But what has fans talking even more is the potential dream collision being whispered behind the scenes.
I filed retirement paperwork on
Well, that was a waste of a tree.
Brock Lesnar
Brock
is retired.
Lesnar. Is that a new form of species?
What just
Brock.
happened out there?
What's a Brock?
Retired for clash in Italy with Brock Lesnar's
Brock Lesnar.
signature.
Who's that?
already.
Is that a twin brother?
A clash between Brock Lesnar and Obafemi is already being called a possible biggest match in WWE history, a battle of unstoppable power, where experience meets a rising force built for destruction.
Brock Lesnar la bestia encarnada acaba de vengarse, acaba de vengarse. Uno más, otro F5.
If Heyman's words prove true, WWE may be on the verge of witnessing a showdown that defines an era. Brock Lesnar is back. Paul Heyman has spoken. And the match that is being set up right now between the Beast incarnate Brock Lesnar and the ruler Obafemi could very well go down as the biggest, most brutal, most historic match in the entire history of World Wrestling Entertainment. Heyman wrote, and I want you to read every single word of this carefully. Oh, did I forget to mention that Brock Lesnar decided to do something about Obafemi? My apologies, it must have slipped my mind. We are talking about a collision between two of the most physically dominant superstars this business has ever seen. And today, we are breaking down everything. Paul Heyman's shocking statement, what it means for Brock Lesnar's future, what it means for Obafemi, and why this rematch at Clash in Italy could change WWE forever. So make sure you are subscribed, hit that notification bell, and let's get straight into it. Let's go back to WrestleMania 42 in Las Vegas on April 19th, because without understanding what happened there, you cannot fully appreciate what is happening right now. Brock Lesnar stepped into that ring against Obafemi, the young powerful Nigerian giant who had been on an absolute tear through the WWE roster. And when the final bell rang, it was Femi who stood tall. Lesnar had lost. But then something happened that nobody expected. Brock Lesnar, the man who conquered The Undertaker's WrestleMania streak, the man who has destroyed legends, broken records, and dominated 2 major sports organizations, that man stood in the middle of the ring, looked out at the WWE universe, and removed his gloves. He took off his gear. He laid it all down. He shared an emotional embrace with Paul Heyman. And then, he walked away. The commentary team went silent. The crowd went silent. Paul Heyman himself appeared visibly emotional. It looked real. It felt real. And the entire WWE world took it at face value. WWE then confirmed it. Brock Lesnar was removed from the active roster and moved to the alumni section of the WWE website. Retirement papers were filed by Raw general manager Adam Pearce. As far as the world was concerned, Brock Lesnar's in-ring career was over. But here is the thing about the Beast, he does not follow anyone's script. Fast forward to Monday Night Raw, May 18th, in Greensboro, North Carolina. Obafemi is in the ring, he is riding high. Since his WrestleMania victory over Lesnar, the ruler had been on a tear of his own, issuing open challenges and defeating stars like Otis, Grayson Waller, and Los Garza. Femi was looking untouchable. He was looking like the dominant force in WWE. And then the arena went dark. And then the music hit. And then Brock Lesnar stormed down that ramp like a man possessed, and the Greensboro crowd absolutely erupted. Femi did not see it coming. Nobody did. Lesnar blindsided the ruler, attacking him from behind before he could even prepare himself. And then came the F5s. 1, 2, 3, 4 devastating F5s. 4 of the most vicious, thunderous finishing moves ever delivered in a WWE ring, all dropped on Obafemi in rapid succession. Femi was left lying on the canvas, completely decimated, as the Beast incarnate stood over him like he had never left. The reaction from the crowd was instant and electric. People who had written off Lesnar's career were suddenly on their feet, arguing about what this means, screaming his name, reliving every great Brock Lesnar moment they had ever witnessed. The Beast was back. And he was hungry. Now here is where things get absolutely fascinating, because Paul Heyman, the wise man, the oracle, the most calculated mind in the history of professional wrestling, had clearly known about this the entire time. After the attack, Raw general manager Adam Pearce rushed backstage and tracked down Heyman in his locker room. Pearce was furious. He reminded Heyman that retirement papers had already been filed on Lesnar's behalf. He demanded answers. And Heyman, cool, calculated, and brilliantly sarcastic as always, played the long game. He told Pearce that Brock Lesnar was indeed retired. He doubled down on it. He kept a straight face. And then he handed Adam Pearce a piece of paper, a contract, signed by Brock Lesnar, invoking his rematch clause against Obafemi for WWE Clash in Italy on May 31st. The only thing left, getting Obafemi to sign the dotted line. But Paul Heyman was not finished. Because after Raw went off the air, the wise man took to social media and released a statement that the entire WWE universe is still talking about. Let that sink in. Paul Heyman knew. He always knew. The retirement, the emotional exit, the boots left in the ring, all of it was orchestrated on a timeline that only the wise man fully understood. And now, with one perfectly timed social media post, Heyman has made it crystal clear. Brock Lesnar is not done. He has unfinished business. And Obafemi is the target. Sources close to the situation have also indicated that while Clash in Italy may be the immediate destination, some insiders believe the true endgame for Lesnar is SummerSlam 2026 in Minneapolis, Minnesota, Lesnar's home state. If that is the plan, then Clash in Italy is just the opening chapter of an even bigger story. Now let me tell you why this rematch, Brock Lesnar vs. Obafemi 2, has all the ingredients to be one of the most significant matches in the history of this business. First, you have the Beast incarnate himself. Brock Lesnar at 48 years old still commands every room he walks into. He still changes the atmosphere of every arena. When his music hits, the world stops. 2 decades of dominance, UF's champion, WWE champion multiple times over, conqueror of The Undertaker's WrestleMania streak, Lesnar is not just a wrestler, he is a phenomenon. And on the other side you have Obafemi, young, physical, powerful, and already carrying the momentum of having defeated the Beast once before. If Femi can stand across the ring from Brock Lesnar and survive it or win it again, he enters a completely different conversation. He becomes a generational star. He gets elevated to a level that very few superstars ever reach. This is what makes the match matter. It is not just a rematch, it is a statement, it is history, it is the old guard versus the new era. And with Paul Heyman in Lesnar's corner, pulling every string and making every calculated move, Obafemi will need to be better than he has ever been in his entire career. WWE Clash in Italy goes down on May 31st at the Analpi Arena in Turin, and trust me when I tell you, you do not want to miss this one. So there you have it, folks. Paul Heyman has broken his silence, Brock Lesnar is back, the rematch is signed, and we could very well be on the road to the most explosive collision this company